What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Let's Talk MMA podcast.
Hope you're all having an amazing day. So, what did you think of that Misfits card? Honestly, I thought it was pretty good. Tony fought on that event, and his fight pulled around 2 million views on YouTube, even though it was just the co-main. Seeing the joy on Tony's face after that win was incredible, man. I don't think I've ever been happier to see a fighter get a victory. It clearly meant so much to him, especially since it's been such a rare sight lately. There's a short clip going around of Tony just screaming from the depths of his soul, releasing years of frustration and anguish. After 6 years, he finally clawed his way out of that mental rut and shed that shadow of defeat. To see him rejoice in victory again was beautiful. I'm genuinely so happy for him. He needed that win. In interviews afterward, Tony said he could finally feel happiness about his performance again. That really hit me. He didn't just need the win for his status as a legend. He needed it for his psyche. Remember, this is a guy who once held the longest lightweight win streak in history, only to then suffer the longest losing streak in history. That kind of fall can destroy a fighter mentally. And yeah, it was against Salt Poppy in influencer boxing, but that doesn't matter. For a fighter who was so familiar with victory but hadn't tasted it in 6 years, even this kind of win is huge. It can boost his confidence, maybe even motivate him to continue his career. But should he? Honestly, I don't know. The hype right now is great. I'd love to see Tony fight other influencer boxers, because real boxers would tear him apart. Part of me hopes he retires now, while he's on this high. If not now, then soon. Still, it's hard not to root for him to keep going. Logically though, this feels like the perfect win to retire on. And shout out to the referee too. He stopped the fight a bit early, but honestly, it looked like he was a Tony Ferguson fan just like us. If we saw Tony winning, we'd probably stop the fight for him too. But to be fair, Tony actually looked good out there. On the other hand, Luke Rockhold should definitely retire. He had no business being in that boxing ring. The guy's taken too much damage already. He should just stick to grappling. That knockout was brutal. Darren Till, though, continues to show how sharp his striking is. He's still in his prime and has had great fights with Robert Whittaker and Wonderboy. Stylistically, he even could have matched up well against Israel Adesanya. He's always performed well against technical strikers.
Then there's Dillon Danis versus Warren Spencer.
That fight had me scratching my head. Danis was facing a boxer in an MMA match, so of course it favored him. He rarely gets to use his grappling, especially after trying, and failing, to force it in that boxing match with Logan Paul.
Remember that.
He shot a double-leg mid-boxing match and couldn't even land it. Tried a guillotine, didn't work. Security guards were choking him out better than he was choking Logan. It was wild. But in MMA, Danis reminded everyone he's world-class. His last MMA fight was back in 2019 when Bellator was still around. In his return, Spencer, who's a boxer, actually shot a takedown on Danis, a jiu-jitsu ace, and got submitted immediately. The funniest part? Spencer had been downplaying grappling the whole time, saying nobody cared about it and that the only way Danis could win was through grappling. He even wanted to fine him for using it. But then he was the one to initiate the grappling exchange. To me, that showed he was scared. I think he shot that takedown because Danis stunned him with the very first jab. Danis hit him clean, and Spencer panicked.
Then Spencer landed a jab.
Danis laughed it off, and out of nerves, or whatever it was, Spencer shot a double leg. I don't know if this guy's ever even attempted a double leg in his life, but he definitely picked the wrong opponent to try it on. Easiest win of Dillon Danis's career, bro. He's never going to get an easier fight than that.
Now, there is a talk of Danis fighting Eddie Hall.
KSI even shook on it with Hall, and Danis said he'd take the fight. That's going to be wild. Honestly, I don't know if Danis can win. His strategy will be to attack the legs, pull guard, and hunt for leg locks to drag Hall down, but Eddie Hall is a monster. He might just smush Danis, plain and simple. Danis isn't small either. He probably walks around at 200 to 210 pounds, and he weighed in the 190s against Spencer. But Hall is a different beast. Danis even added a condition that Hall has to weigh under 300 pounds for the fight, which is hilarious. Like, hey, you can't be 300 pounds if we're fighting. Still, watching Eddie Hall compete is always a spectacle, one of the strongest men in the world stepping into combat sports. Honestly, I think Hall beats Danis, but I wouldn't be shocked if Danis somehow pulls it off. High-level BJJ is all about technique overcoming size and strength, and this fight would be the ultimate test of that principle. Danis, whether we like it or not, is carrying the reputation of BJJ on his shoulders here. A lot of the BJJ community hates that it's him, but that's the situation. And speaking of resurgences, 2025 has been a crazy year for comebacks. We've got Alexander Volkanovski reclaiming his belt, Tony Ferguson back in the win column, Kamaru Usman bouncing back, and even Dominic Reyes on a win streak.
It feels like the year of perseverance.
Imagine if Dominic Reyes really puts it all together again. Say he beats Karl Berg, then gets a title shot against Magomed Ankalaev. If he were to win the belt, it would be one of the greatest redemption stories in MMA. This is a guy who nearly beat John Jones, got robbed on the scorecards, then spiraled into a 4-fight losing streak. If he rebounds, beats 3 contenders in a row, and takes out Ankalaev to become champ, that's movie material.
Straight out of Hollywood.
That upcoming card itself is historic, 16 fights total, making it the longest card in UFC history. The prelims are set to start at 7, which should cut down on ads between fights. Honestly, I love that.
Nothing ruins the flow like endless commercials.
One of the best experiences in combat sports is when fights cycle seamlessly, one after the other. Dan Hooker's backyard fights had that exact energy. Once one bout ended, the next one began. If the UFC can capture that rhythm on this card, it's going to be amazing. And in other news, Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje is rumored as the next lightweight title fight. Moano mentioned he heard about it, and it does look like the UFC might go that route. At this point, I just want Ilia to fight someone, anyone. If it's Gaethje, I'm fine with it.
My prediction.
I think Ilia dusts Gaethje within 2 rounds. But I will say, people underestimate Gaethje's unique challenge here, the leg kicks. Ilia has never fought someone who chops down the base like Justin does. Volk uses leg kicks too, but very differently, more technical, less punishing. Gaethje's kicks destroy your stance and cripple your offense. And with Ilia's heavy, forward-leaning stance, it's going to be hard for him to check those. That alone makes it a dangerous matchup. Still, I think Ilia finds the overhand counters and puts him away early. But it'll be fascinating to see how he handles that one stylistic weapon, his supposed kryptonite. Meanwhile, there are also rumors of Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker, which is another intriguing fight. That leaves Paddy Pimblett without an opponent.
Maybe Mateusz Gamrot. Maybe Arman if Hooker falls through.
Even Max Holloway's injury complicates things further. Honestly, once the title fight is officially set, the dominoes will fall and the rest of the division will line up.
And then there's Merab Dvalishvili.
This guy is a machine. He already has a fight scheduled with Corey Sandhagen in October, but he wants another one before the year ends, possibly against Petr Yan in December. If he pulls that off, that would mean 4 title defenses in a single year. Umar in January, Ali in June, Corey in October, and Yen in December. That would be the most in UFC history. Against that level of competition, we're talking about a historic run, beating Yen, Cejudo, O'Malley, twice, Umar, Corey, and Yen again. That's legendary stuff. Honestly, if Merab does this, you could argue he deserves to be considered pound for pound number 1. It's crazy because not long ago, people thought Merab was boring. Now, he's must-watch TV. His pace, pressure, relentlessness, it's exciting. He's even adding submissions to his game. If he keeps this streak alive, we're witnessing one of the most active and dominant champions in UFC history. And speaking of future matchups, Umar Nurmagomedov is set to fight Mario Bautista. That'll be part of UFC 321. Umar's back from injury, and I think he wins. Bautista is tough, well-rounded, and has good cardio, but Umar is just on another level. Better striking, better wrestling, better grappling, faster scrambles. Unless Bautista catches him, Umar should take it. That same card also features Verna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern 2 as the co-main event for the strawweight title. Honestly, that feels weak for a pay-per-view co-main. The first fight wasn't great, but Dern is on a 2-fight win streak, and Verna is clearly the best in the division now. With Zhang Weili gone, the strawweight division has lost its star power, and this matchup doesn't really move the needle. Still, it technically makes sense given the rankings.